I know that the title, just the title Elvis and the name Elvis will turn off a lot of people. And I feel like that's kind of the point of the film, right?
Yeah.
How did a guy who revolutionized music become that person who seems so corny? And, how did this happen?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a new episode of Mostly Wrong Opinions. I am Tyrone. That is Devin. Wait! Before we put on our blue suede shoes and boogie on down to this review, hit that subscribe button right there. All right? Now, we have a review for you. It is Elvis.
You're looking for trouble? You came to the right place. Looking for trouble? Look right in my face.
This movie is just about a white kid who catches the spirit and talks about it for the rest of his life.
Catches the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, exactly. He went to church, a black church one time, and couldn't stop talking about it to the day he died.
This movie, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I didn't want to really see it. Because I was like, you know what?
Yeah, we did have a little bit of a debate in order to watch this one.
I was just like, I don't know if I really want to see it because it's like, I know that the whole thing when it comes to black culture and music and stuff like that of Elvis mimicking and actually taking direct songs from black people. But I wanted to give it a chance. And my overall, before we get into it, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the film.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And what's funny, you talk about how Elvis like essentially just stole all his music. I feel like this is very controversial to talk to about with like Elvis fans. And what's interesting, this movie is pretty open with the fact that he stole a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
Although they kind of made it seem like he stole his music. He stole the music both out of love for the music,
yes,
and ignorance of the culture,
yes. Right?
That's why. So I'm like,
exactly what I was gonna say.
I'm like, that's an interesting take on Elvis, and I wonder if people would be upset about that.
When you want to take, they saying that Bruno Mars is a culture vulture, okay, and he's borrowing from black culture and stuff like that. It's you would say that this film depicted it as that, to where he admired it so much that that's all he loved.
I think that's an interesting comparison.
And I'm saying that's what people saying. I
think it's accurate, but I also think Bruno Mars should know better, right? The thing about this movie is they stress that Elvis is an idiot, right? He has very low education. He's from backwoods Memphis, Tennessee. He doesn't know that much, right? He more or less is almost like the movie presents him almost like a baby to some of these things, right? Yeah. Where he doesn't realize that that's necessarily what he's doing. He almost made it seem like he wasn't even consciously aware that he was stealing from black culture with his clothes and stuff like that. Again, I'm not an Elvis fan. I'm not a purist as an Elvis fan. And I imagine if you are an Elvis fan, you might not have liked this. But I appreciated how much the movie like really emphasized Elvis's youth and how strange and unusual he was to a lot of the older crowd. Now, for me, I associate Elvis with really old people, right? Like dusty old people, you know what I mean? And the movie, yeah, that's right. And the movie did an interesting thing in that they didn't play as much of his music as I thought they would. And when they did, it was like modern remixes. Like, I'm like, there's like hip hop,
Doja Cat and all that.
Yeah, Doja Cat, her song pops up in here.
You ain't nothing but a dog player. I get it.
And at first I'm like, what the? But then I'm like, oh, I get it. I get that this, for a modern audience, it's so you can understand the kind of unusual swagger that this white boy has, right? Mm-hmm. He's kind of has, a black guy's swagger and a black guy's look and a black guy's sound, and how foreign and downright hostile that might have felt to a lot of white people at the time.
They didn't like it.
And I thought that was really cool. It made Elvis seem like super progressive. But I imagine if you're an Elvis purist and you love his music, hearing Doja Cat sing Hound Dog, it probably sounds like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
So I wonder how the old folks feel about that. Another really weird thing was like I saw the movie in like a interesting crowd. Like, so the people to the left of me, it was like two kind of older white ladies who were like dancing to the Elvis music, and I could almost physically see a question mark pop up over their head when the Doja Cat popped on. They're like, what? Behind me, I had some black people, and I could tell they had the knives out for Elvis. You know what I mean? Because he was like, Dr. King, I can't believe Dr. King's dead. The person behind me was like, bullshit. I was like, yo.
You heard it? You heard it?
Yeah. So I was really
crazy.
interesting how one group of people were like, oh, I love Elvis. Yeah. And the other group was like, what is this trash? But I could also tell the movie was winning over the people behind me. Like near the end, when Elvis became kind of the sad, pathetic guy.
Like, damn.
Yeah, you could feel like they got real quiet, So I was like, oh, look at that. It's winning them over, A good story can
As
do
it
that,
should.
Exactly.
It should do that because his story is not for the faint of heart when it comes to how he was treated. No matter what, he was treated badly.
Yeah, and this movie framed Elvis as more like a victim, and which I would, again, they went into the film not knowing this about Elvis. I was quite surprised to see Elvis portrayed in that way.
This being a biopic, I really don't know how true this was.
I don't know either.
B.B. King is in this film and he's talking to him.
Oh, the guy who played B.B. King, damn, his voice sounded just like him. I was like, man, I feel like I was listening to B.B. King for a second there. I was like, what?
Little Richard was in there. Fats Domino was in there, and he wanted. And there's a scene in there where they calling Elvis. He's a press junkie and calling Elvis the king of rock and roll, and Elvis like, no, you call me the king of rock and roll. This man right here is the king of rock and roll.
And I'm like, did that happen?
It's like, did that happen? I don't know. He probably felt it, but did he say it?
What was interesting about the film, and we talked about this before, is that it's a biopic, but we don't ever really get into the mind of Elvis. It's really, the movie does not, it puts Elvis a little bit at a distance. We're always looking in at Elvis's life. We're not actually, I never feel like I understand what Elvis is thinking or how he feels at any given point, which is interesting since, again, he stole a lot of music. We don't really know his motives here, but it would seem like, from the outside looking in with his film, that he did it out of love. But the main character, or the person who we do get to see a lot of, is Tom Hanks's character, whose name I don't know. I know I should know his name, but I'm not an Elvis
Colonel
fan.
Tom,
I'm so sorry.
Colonel Tom.
Yes, the Colonel. Right. He's the narrator, and we do get into his mind occasionally. And I thought Tom Hanks did a really, really good job.
Tom Hanks did a really good job at being a evil, conniving man. But here's the thing. It's like, see, I'm not that type of person deep down inside to know something so well and take advantage of someone so easily. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes him conniving, because he knew that he could take advantage of this country bumpkin. And
he saw Elvis, and he saw a lot of talent, and he saw something that he could take advantage of, and he saw someone that he was smarter than, and he took advantage of that until Elvis's death, all straight to his death.
The moment
of his death. He bled him dry. There's a great scene at the end where Elvis becomes privy to the fact that this guy has been taking advantage of him and his family his whole life. He calls him a vampire, and I'm like, that's what this guy is. So, He is a vampire.
He sucked you dry, Elvis, and he would not let him leave. And Elvis wanted to tour the world, but he was like, nah, we'll stay right here in Las Vegas. But
I thought it was really interesting because the movie really pushes this idea that Elvis was this kind of progressive guy moving particularly white music forward and essentially making crossover music, but with a white face,
Yeah.
until his manager finally sunk his hooks all the way in and bled him dry, and more or less made him become stagnant, made him become the joke Elvis that I'm more familiar with.
Yeah,
the fat guy in the lounge rooms, slurring all his words and falling all over the place, like Uncle Burn, like that. That guy, and the movie makes Elvis seem really sad.
There's a real good reason why these artists all of a sudden want their fucking masters and stuff now.
Oh yeah, but they haven't learned the lesson yet.
Musicians and artists never learn their lesson. Signing contracts.
I mean, it's because it's just this. It's a little bit like with sports, Like a lot of these people come from nothing, and it's how do you convince someone to risk everything? It's on a level that I think is difficult for me to even understand. Yeah. It's like you can risk your well-being, your mom's well-being, your whole entire family's well-being, so you can negotiate a contract. Like, that is hard. I think you got to be, they have balls of steel and got to be really, really smart to do that. And almost no one does. So, it's easy. These are people that are easy to take advantage of.
He was poor. And they didn't have no music. They didn't have no lawyer. So
no, exactly. And especially when they get swindled, where the father wanted to be like a manager. He's like, oh yeah, you could be the manager. He's like, oh, I like the way that sounds.
It's just a title.
Yeah, it's a title, sure, but he had no say, right? Yeah. The other guy was the manager. He was just a useful idiot. So by giving him the title, the real manager can just do whatever he wanted to. Mm-hmm. And anytime he stepped out of line, he was just like, oh, okay, well, write this down. You owe us $100,000 for balloons. And the guy's like, oh, we owe $100,000 for balloons. I guess we better stay. Like, yo, no, you don't. You know what I'm saying? But these people are from the country, they're from Memphis, Memphis, Tennessee. They've never bought 1,000 balloons in their life. You don't know. They're like, we're going to get rid of you. And he's like, well, you owe me $8 million. He's like, I do? Like, no, you don't.
No, you do not owe $8 million.
He owes you $8 million. Like, no. Again, this guy does not have a lot of education. He did not understand how well the trap was set until it sprung, and he could not escape it. And he more or less, I didn't know this, that he didn't sing in Vegas because he loved Vegas so much. He was like a prisoner. Like, he could not leave. Yeah. And he sang himself straight to death. But again, I thought the movie did a really good job of contextualizing all the weird hair and the outfits, where Elvis loved two things: his mom and Shazam. And goddamn it, Elvis grew up to become Shazam. He slicked his hair back like Shazam. He wore the little cape like Shazam. All that stuff. Elvis was a blonde, natural blonde. He dyed it black. To look more like Shazam. He had the white suit with the little short cape. He ended up looking just like Shazam. And I thought it was interesting because there's a lot of parallels between what happened to Elvis and what happened to Shazam, aka Captain Marvel. Because maybe this might be a little inside baseball, but the character Captain Marvel has passed hands a million times because that name is very profitable. So Captain Marvel started off at Fawcett Comics, and then they got bought by DC Comics. But damn it, DC Comics already had their big superhero, and that's Superman. So they did all they could to crush Shazam, to crush Captain Marvel. They sold the name Captain Marvel to Marvel Comics, and they did all they could to bury that character so that Superman could rise up. And I thought it was really interesting that they essentially took all the parts of Captain Marvel out and put them into Superman, and then killed the actual character. And that's essentially what happened. That's essentially what happened to Elvis, right? He got bled dry until they thought he was useless anymore. Tossed him over his shoulder, boom, moved on, right? Yeah. The industry was very cruel to Elvis.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot about Elvis himself. I learned more about, the manager and how that type of swindling happens today, people. It's such a sad cautionary tale.
Yeah. But at the same time, and maybe we should start moving towards our review here. Right. I thought the movie, I was nervous about the movie when I realized that this was essentially a standard boilerplate biopic format, right? And it essentially falls into all the normal pitfalls that a biopic has because you know what's going to happen, right?
It's like next.
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of feel the beats coming, which to me made the movie feel long, and the movie is long. This is a almost 3 hour,
2 hour, 40-minute film.
Yeah. So and I feel like I felt it. I was never bored, but like I could feel it. It didn't. This was not a breezy 3 hours.
By the way, this is directed by Baz. I don't know his last name, but he directed Moulin Rouge and Romeo and Juliet and all these. The Great Gatsby, all these spectacular, freaking crazy. I kind of feel like he was
big over the top type of movies.
I kind of feel like his directing and editing style is Edgar Wright before Edgar Wright. So
really? Yeah, I think his directing style is disgusting and absolutely atrocious.
I know.
But that kind of fits for the tackiness that is Elvis. So if it was anybody else, they might have a little too much tact. The Baz has got these like swirly cameras and weird zooms and bizarre over the top editing, and you're like, what the fuck? But it works for Elvis. You
can't do that for Luther Vandross. But
Luther Vandross.
Let me up.
I think Luther's got a great story. He's got a really good one.
I know. I want to see it.
That'd be a good one.
The direction and the camera angles and all the editing and snap cuts and all that stuff, that really kind of threw me off a little bit. With it being as long as it was, that kind of threw me off a little bit. But I have to give this film points for acting. Austin Butler did an amazing job. Tom Hanks did a great job of disappearing into the character. They put that fat suit on him, and it was crazy.
Except when it was CGI when he was older, which I just thought.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
terrible. I was like, that was one of the first shots in the movie too. I'm like, but
but I'm gonna give this film a B-.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm gonna give it, a B-. I like this quite a bit. I feel like a B- is like high praise from someone who don't care about Elvis, know nothing about Elvis. The only thing I knew about Elvis was he was a thief. That's all I knew. So for this movie to recontextualize it, recontextualize him for me, that's kind of a big deal. And I enjoyed some of his music, and I agree.
I was tapping my feet.
Yeah, exactly.
I was tapping my feet.
And the bombastic way it was edited and shot, it worked for this film. Like you said, I don't know how this is going to work with anybody else, but for Elvis, that works. And I also don't know how accurate this is. And
we don't.
I guess I shouldn't care, right? This isn't a documentary, but and maybe this is a positive because it does make me want to look to see like, did Elvis actually care about Martin Luther King getting killed, or is this some bullshit they added into the film? You know what I mean? I don't know. But
do you care about Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, all of them? And,
again, like the movie kind of made it seem like Elvis was a very progressive guy, until he got run into the ground, right? Until he started spinning in circles. Essentially, I thought it was interesting. I was like, I wonder if they'll mention the Jacksons in here, and they did right at the end, right? The Jacksons took his spot, and they were like, here at the hotel, the Jacksons, and for the older crowd, we've got Elvis. And I was like, oh wow, Jesus, I was like such a gut punch for Elvis in the film. So I liked the movie. I thought it was really good for what it was, and I'm kind of surprised to say that I would recommend this.
So I gave this film a B-. Devin gave this film a B-. We agreed on this one. Go ahead and get to the theater and go see Elvis. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Elvis Presley.
Hey, you right there sitting down eating your cheese puffs. I see
cheese
you.
Puffs. Right.
Cheese puffs. Gotta have it, right? You know what else you gotta have in your life? Us. Get down there and hit that subscribe button. All right?
Segue is getting more and more bizarre.
If you liked our review, hit that thumbs up. It really does help out the channel. Or you can hit that thumbs down. Whatever it is your opinion. But just remember one thing. It is mostly wrong. See you guys in a hip moving, pelvis moving episode. Another one.
Let me see those moves again.
Oh. Bye.